The other day I was with my grandson and we were talking about music and concerts, and he was telling me that he's planning to go to a concert. He has tickets for a concert next month for someone I never heard of. I think her name is Marina. Apparently she's pretty popular among people his age, but I'd never heard about her. And he was asking me about concerts that I've seen during my lifetime. He knows that I lived in Hollywood for 15 years. And when I was there, I saw a lot of concerts at the Hollywood Bowl. I saw Janis Joplin there. I think it was 1969 or 1970. That was before I moved there. But when I lived there, I saw dozens of really big name acts there over the years, and the Universal Amphitheater and the Greek Theater, and so many theaters there in the Hollywood, Los Angeles area over the years. And while we were talking, it got me thinking about a documentary I just recently saw about Led Zeppelin, the early years. I think it was called like The Making of Led Zeppelin or something like that. And it was really funny because they were showing memorabilia and things from their early concerts, and they were showing ticket stubs. And I was shocked to see that the price of their early concerts were like $5 and $10, $7 for a Led Zeppelin concert. Can you imagine? This was, I guess, late 60s, early 70s. Not really that long ago. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but I guess it was over 50 years ago. That seems pretty crazy too when you think about it. So we were talking about that, and I told him about those early ticket prices. And I can't remember ever once in all the more than 100 concerts that I went to over the years, I can't remember ever saying, wow, these tickets are expensive. Going to see a movie in a theater was a couple of dollars back then, and maybe going to a concert was $5, $10 in later years. Maybe in the 80s or 90s, maybe it was up to $25 or $30 or something. But I never once remember ever saying, gosh, tickets to see someone in concert are really expensive. They just weren't. They were normal price, just like everything else was normal price back then. Today, there's no such thing as a normal price, especially when it comes to concerts. So I was telling him how shocked I was that today, if you go to a concert, it can be $100 to see someone. And he goes, $100? He goes, that's nothing these days. He said, we're paying $300 each to see Marina. We were driving as we were talking. I almost ran off the road. I couldn't believe it. I think he said $300 each. And she's performing in Pomona, which is not LA or Hollywood or the west side of LA. It's the suburbs of Los Angeles, way out in the middle of, well, most of you watching would probably consider out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not a big venue, not a big name. Even if she is well known among her age group, she's not a big name. Not like Led Zeppelin or Elton John or, some of the biggies, some of the big legends where you might expect it to be $100 a ticket, maybe even a couple hundred, maybe I guess these days, maybe even 300. But for someone I've never even heard of, for $300 a ticket, I couldn't believe it. Even I've seen lots of people on Broadway in New York, and maybe it was $50. I mean, this was years ago, but still, I was like floored. I couldn't believe it. Then I got to thinking about it. I thought, well, what is the most I've ever spent for a concert? I saw Janis Joplin at the Hollywood Bowl. It was probably, I think it was 1969, 1970. It was probably $5, $10 to see Janis Joplin. And there was probably another big act with her. I don't remember now who she was playing with. And I saw Elton John many years ago at Dodger Stadium. That was probably $20, $25. This was back in the 1980s. But then I remembered when we lived in Orange County, before we moved here to Palm Springs in the 1990s, we lived in Orange County, and one of the biggest names who decided to come out of retirement and perform was Barbra Streisand. One of the biggest names, one of the biggest legends in music history, decided to do a national tour, and she came to Orange County. She came to, at the time it was called the Pond, because the Ducks, the Mighty Ducks, I guess, the Ducks were playing there. It's the Orange County Arena, and we decided we had to see Barbra Streisand. She's a legend, just absolutely a legend, like Elvis or Frank Sinatra. And I realized we did pay a lot back then. This was 25 years ago, and we paid $300 each to see Barbra Streisand in this huge arena, and those weren't even the good seats. Now, this is a huge, huge arena. We were close to the stage, but we were up in the balcony, way up in like the nosebleed section. We could see her. I mean, she was the stage was really close, and we could see her from the side. We were on the right-hand side, and so we actually did have a pretty good view of her with binoculars, but we were pretty far away for $300. I'm sure front row seats were probably over $1,000. But again, she's a living legend, so we were kind of willing to pay almost anything to see her, and that was an awful lot back then. But here we are 25 years later, and Mason is paying $300 to see someone I've never even heard of. Definitely not a living legend. And so that's the most we've ever paid for a concert. $300 for a ticket. Now, I also just this morning, I was looking at CNN, and there was an article, I think it was CNN, about Billy Joel and how, he's been performing for, I think, a decade now, every week, I think, at Madison Square Garden in New York City, and he realized that seats to his concert, the front rows, are exorbitant. They didn't say how much, I'm sure thousands of dollars to be in the front row, and I guess he certainly doesn't need the money anymore. So he decided to stop selling tickets to the first couple of rows to his concerts. What he does is he gives them away, because he realized that the tickets were always going to millionaires, billionaires, all the people, the wealthy people who could afford those kind of tickets were the only people. He said they probably weren't even fans, and they were just doing it just to say they did it. And he wanted those seats to really go to the people who really loved him, his real, true fans. And so he sets aside those, I guess, a row or two in the front row, the best seats, and then he has his people go, and I don't know if they do it randomly or how they do it, but they select people from the nosebleed section, the furthest section away, people who have spent their hard-earned money, probably still paying a lot of money to sit in the very, very back row where they can't see or even hear him probably. And so he brings them up and upgrades them for free and gives them those free front row seats, which is awesome. He's just an awesome person. And if you haven't seen his HBO documentary, just recently played, it was amazing. It's just incredible. What a musical genius. I always liked him, but I just never had any idea just how extremely talented he really is. And so anyway, so that was really nice, I think, because we are getting to the point in this country and maybe around the world where only the super wealthy can afford to do the things that baby boomers, we all did without thinking twice. You could go to Disneyland. I grew up 25 miles away from Disneyland, so every year, me and my brothers, my family, the whole family would go to Disneyland, and I'm sure it was considered expensive back then, but the tickets were, $5 each. And now you're looking at a family going there to stay for, well, even just for a day, is well over $1,000. If you eat and drink and do other things, you're probably spending a couple $1,000s a day. And then if you go there and stay in the hotels and whatever, you could be spending $5, $10, who knows, $20,000 just to go to Disneyland. So it's most of those things that baby boomers grew up with that were just normal prices that anybody could go do. Now those are reserved really just for the wealthy and sometimes the super wealthy. Oh, and then so to get to the headline of this video, Palm Springs is sort of like a mini Las Vegas. We have a half a dozen casinos here, and almost all, if not all, of the big name performers perform here at the casinos, which is really cool. I mean, it's just like you don't even have to go up to Las Vegas to see all the big name acts. And so right here, just in downtown Palm Springs, or actually I think it's in the Rancho Mirage Casino, the Agua Caliente Casino, at the end of this month, I think it's September 20th, Rod Stewart will be appearing and playing here in person. And, Rod Stewart, when I think of him, I think of course, he's very well known. I mean, one of the biggest performers of all time. I don't personally think of him. I mean, he's great. I've listened to him since I was a kid. I don't think of him as a living legend in the same way as Elvis or Barbra Streisand or some of the other really big living legends. But he's definitely an A-list performer. I mean, he's definitely very, very popular. But when I saw the price of his tickets, his most expensive tickets, again, I almost choked. I was eating my breakfast while I was looking at this, and I almost choked looking at the price. Orchestra seats, front row seats, are selling for $800. $800 to see Rod Stewart here in Palm Springs. How is that even possible? And the cheapest seats at the theater, the cheapest balcony seats, I think are selling for $200. So I don't know what happened to this world, how we got to this point. We're becoming a world of haves and have-nots for sure. And most of the entertainment things like this are really getting to the point where they're only affordable if you're wealthy. Pretty soon, we're just going to be a society of poor and rich, and nothing in between, I think. So the world has definitely changed a lot in that way. Well, look at the Super Bowl. I've heard, I've never gone to the Super Bowl, but I've heard that now tickets go for $10,000, $20,000, probably $50,000. Who knows? Maybe half $500,000 for a Super Bowl ticket. Who knows? I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So anyway, it's insane. It's insanity, and it just keeps getting more insane. So this is where we are in 2025, and it's only getting worse. Anyway, what's the most you've ever paid for a concert ticket? Share with us. Who did you see and how much did you pay? And are there concerts that you'd like to go to but you haven't been able to just because you can't afford it? So thanks as always for sharing with us, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.